Hello? Hello? Good evening? Hello? Thanks for telling me, Aline. I'm gonna shrink myself. I'm not the focus of this, the redstone is. Let's see, how is I want to change this up? Chat can move back down, I suppose. Yeah, thanks for telling me. And my desktop audio has also... There it is. Alright, so there was no music, there was no nothing. Of course, yeah. I updated my Windows, and that happened. Honestly, I would have missed that the whole time. I'm not gonna lie. Alright, where is my... Something like that. That's, I think. Hey, Demetrius. Alright. Don't mind me, just messing with some redstone here. 12, 13, 14, 15. That should still have animation. Yeah, but this is... Oh yeah. 15, as we all know and love. We need to get a repeater in here. Yep. We can actually do that to give it the extra distance. That 7, 8, 9, 10, 15. So this... Oh, is it actually? Alright. Man, look at all these newbie mistakes I'm making. Classic. I stopped streaming for a little bit and suddenly making so many mistakes. Alright, so... 2. We know for redstone traveling it's instantaneous. What I'm more curious about is how quickly it travels through repeaters. That's the real question here. To this. So form a pattern like this. Block, repeater, block. I don't... Oh, I messed up. It's actually like that. Block here. Dust here. So we'll push this forward one more time. Dust, repeater, block. Dust, repeater, block. Okay. So if anyone's wondering, I'm just doing some very basic, Oh yeah, I do have a command block set up somewhere in this world. I forgot about that. Basically, the command block is on a timer using a light detector, and every time it activates, it just sets the time of the world back to its regular time, back to the daytime. That's something I did previously. I have no idea where to put it though. So I know there's a delay. Like if you look at it right now, you can see it takes a moment. And stuff like that is very important when it comes to more complex contraptions. And then put dust on top. You can see that. Flip the switch. That was a good moment. And let's say instead of a switch we have a button, right? Let's get a stone button. Stone buttons actually last half as long as wooden buttons, by the way. Press the button, lit up, and it's off. Lit up, and it's off. Simple. And the duration in which it is lit up for is equivalent. Hey, Yuzuru, it's been a long time, friend. Hope you're doing well. The duration is equivalent to the duration of the button, so we take another button, like a regular wooden button. Stick that on, press this one. Watch how long this lights up. Much longer. It's actually twice as long. On, off. Yeah. So this is a neat little trick to see how long something lasts for. observer, one of my favorite tools to use in modern day redstone. Let us throw down like a dust here. That'll pulse this. You see that? A single pulse. Boom, just like that. So that's how you can. That's how you know observers only last a single pulse. Obviously, you don't need a contraption as like messily looking like this. You could technically throw it like that. Pulse, pulse. So this is also, by the way, a pulse extender. So for those who don't know, obviously you don't want to set up like this, but something where you can have the signal stronger. What ends up happening is, generally speaking, when you have a signal going in, you want a pretty strong delay, and then you basically want this to be turned on for a period of time, and then there's going to be an extra delay, usually set to be around when the initial input turns off, perhaps a couple ticks before that, and then have it go in, so that the delayed input basically doubles in the time. Hey, Creeper Mechs. So if we happen to just do something like this, it should be a pretty good demonstration of how a pulse extender works. So even though we saw earlier how this is only a single tick for that to light up, but now we do this, boop, 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 boop. So there, you can see there's a bit of a delay, and it's because this is only a single tick that causes this extra delay to occur. If we press the button instead, you can see this just turns on for like a good second. Yeah. So if you compare that to, well, we would break these. Well, it could break the dust too, but it's easier to hit the repeaters than the dust. So I saw earlier, it takes a moment before, yeah. And it only goes for a moment, like, it's not that long. Yeah. A void magnet, why don't I use comparative? I'm doing very basic redstone. I'm just having some fun testing some old stuff right now. But this is a old school pulse extender. Very old school. Nowadays, we have something much more compact and neat. This is a much cleaner version of the pulse extender. Basically, this is how you kind of want to... It doesn't really matter. It can be either way. It can be really anywhere for the input-output. So, let's give this thing a pulse. Too weak? Yeah, it's too weak. There you go. How long does this last? It drops very quickly, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And obviously, the way you extend this is essentially you add more to the circuit. So this doubles the time. Yeah, much longer. So these are different ways you can extend a pulse, and this is very, very useful. There is, obviously, if you want more fine control, El Classique right here is very nice for that. Okay, we'll leave that here. Let's empty our inventory. If we hit the button, there was like a button you can just clear entire inventory with. So the idea here is I'm just gonna have some fun making it. We'll start with a 2x2 piston door. Pretty simple stuff, yeah. Actually, I want these about there. Yeah. So when the doors are open, we have them like this. And let's say I want the pressure plates around there. This is a good spot. I never did like pressure plates up right next to the doors. So, I mean, there's obviously the most basics of ways of doing it, which is like this, right? You throw the redstone dust right there. And simply hook it up and you're good to go. The version I used did like that, but this is a very primitive style. Is there a way we can clean this up? And obviously we need to reverse and have the doors closed, but we'll figure that out along the way. Which way do I want the redstone? We'll hide everything after the fact. Do I want the redstone? So these were the little things I had to work on way back in the day, because it's fun. Some torches. We have a lot more toys to work with now, so... One of the most fun things to do. Well, you know, one of the things that I want to try doing happens to be... Wasn't there a comparator build where you can use, or not comparator, observer build? Was it like this? Can't remember now. Yeah. Yeah. So this is a super easy way of doing it. It spits it out, and puts it back in. Really compact. I'm pretty sure there's an even more compact way. If I watch like Mumbo Jumbo, for example, he probably has a build that's way more compact than this. Okay. Let's break that. Okay. So let's see. The thing I want to do. Oh, let's break everything here first. Yeah. Alright, cool. Got ourselves a nice little, you know, pathway here. So, something we can do. So one of the things I like doing is minimizing lag with neat redstone stuff like this. This does activate it, right? Yeah, I see that. Okay. So what we can do here, something like that, where we power that with the observer like so. Yeah. Okay. So the way I've set this up now, I mean, obviously the issue becomes, do you want to pulse extend this? With a compact form like this, my knowledge of how to compact this fails to do so. I mean, it's not impossible, but Add that in. Okay. So now step on the pressure plates, opens and then closes, and you have but a brief moment to do so. So this is one of those designs that I feel works best if you're trying to run away from something. Not sure about how well it'll work with like against player detection and all that. Obviously it wouldn't really work in a PvP setting. It's not meant for that. Would it work for a PvE setting? Yes, I would say you would want something else for the activation device. Maybe probably a button. That's probably your best bet. Most likely looking for a button for a design like this. I think I covered everything. Have a nice little thing here, running, and you're out. You can turn this into a one-way. Throw a couple buttons on the ground. Run. This way you trigger it by right-clicking, and you can't accidentally trigger it by running over. Stuff like that. The buttons on the ground. Really nice thing to have in Minecraft. Actually, how's the music right now? Not bad. Alright. Whew. Alrighty. So you got a very basic 2x2 door. Has a very short timer. Okay. Let's tear this back apart. Now let's have a little bit of fun with this. How do we... Let's say we... Oops. Nope. Oop, wrong way. Let's say we want to pulse extend this, yeah? Let's say... we want this to activate a little bit longer. As we know, it only lasts for it. Ding, 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 ding. So curious. What happens if we do this? Really? That's how that works. Okay. How about that? Oh. Right. This is what's known as a butt switch, by the way. The piston remembers that it has power until you update it. Oh, it's awkward. Okay. So using this design, specifically this design, how do we pulse extend this? That is the question here. That is the very fun question I wish to tackle. Can't really touch here, because that's the floor. We don't want to mess with the floor. That's not what we're trying to do. Give me some half slabs, please. Thank you. So right now when we power these get powered on for as long as the button gets powered on. So, hey Riot, yeah, I am streaming pretty late. It's pretty rare, but you know, felt like it. Okay, so the idea definitely is we're going to add in some more observers and basically send a second set of signals. Oh, is the rock back? I can like hear it from my headphones. I'm not wearing my headphones. What am I making? I know. Doors. Just giving myself some random projects to work on. Like right now, when you hit the button, this happens. Right? Nothing too fancy. You press the buttons, door opens, you walk through, door closes. Oh, obviously, when you have the floor, it's a lot easier. So, now my idea is how do I... Yes, it is a... some nice guitar. I actually don't really hear the music, by the way. I have my my headphones on my desk, and it's like blasting the music for me, but at really low volume. The music's mainly for stream, not for me, really. Okay. So we're definitely gonna have to expand this a little bit, but considering the type of build we're going for, I think this is fine. No reason not to. So let's do it like this. And what we can do is give this a delayed reaction, and we can use our classic pulse extender using the comparators to do what we want to do with this. So let's say we did like so. The main issue would be this type of pulse extender causes a lot of light updates. That's actually one of the perks of using this type of redstone, which is powering powered rails to then get the observers to send a redstone pulse. And then the observer obviously to power more power rails, to power observer. So when you do this design here, well, without this bit over here, power like so, the only light update happening is this redstone dust here and this redstone dust here. So 2 redstone dusts. Those are the only like things that are getting a light update, and it reduces a lot of lag. It's a very nice way of being pretty lag friendly. Whereas if we add this into the mix, would that even add to the mix? I actually don't think this would add to the mix. We actually need I think a bit of this action with a repeater. We had a repeater here. That'll do it. So let's add the repeater in here. Put the dust here. Add the delay. We'll pulse twice. How about we add a stronger delay to this? Yeah. Okay. Single. So as you see, it start the strength of this timer start dipping, and you need at least one for this to actually work. Yeah. Wing, wing. And then you want to take an output. So most likely what you're looking for is a NOT gate. For those who don't know what a NOT gate is, essentially once this is off, you want whatever you want to be on. So that means that what we want to get powered right now Oh, this is now a clock. That's definitely not what I want. People making lag machines and produce crash, they know it was lag for a contraption. Hey, yeah, there's actually plenty of different ways to reduce lag. This is just my favorite way of doing it, just because of how nice and compact it looks. It's actually something I was trying to do to demonstrate compared to like this, where if you link observers, so like so, and make it similar to that over there. Just put these here. Like so. We'll grab a lamp for demonstration purposes. And then throw it. Oh, it doesn't matter. Something here. So basically this little snaking pattern here acts very similar to this here. And if you have the materials, you actually don't need the in-between here if it's gonna be this short. If it's a bit longer, like you can extend this pretty far, right? To the distance you can power rails, which is 9. I think so anyways. Let's throw this down. Yeah, it's up to here. So we throw an observer over here. And throw an observer over here. And if we shove a repeater here, like so, that will power that for a good little second. Throw down a button. Boom! Look at that. So this technically acts with a 1 tick pulse delay here, instantaneous 1 tick pulse delay here with 4 ticks. It's a 6 tick delay to reach the lamp over here. What's funny is that the stone button here lasts for 10 ticks. So there's a 4 tick difference, which means that this will pulse twice. Now it should pulse only once, I believe. Still pulse twice. There's still a difference, and the difference is this side shorter than this side. So there is a 1 tick pulse delay here in the rails potentially, not sure, but this should be more than enough. Like, this should last a lot longer. So that means click that, stop. Oh, right, because this, okay, no. My mistake. So my mistake is, this checks for updates. So I'm gonna need to power this directly for this to have a difference. Hey Nimbo, how am I? Doing alright. It's pretty late. Just wanted to stream. Okay. So what's happening here actually, and it's actually, this is actually useless. There's a, again, this is why I do tests, because I sometimes have a lapse in judgment, or I forget how things work. Observers send out one pulse, a one tick pulse only, only, and that will never change. So what's happening here is because buttons have two modes to them. They have pressed and unpressed. Each will cause a update. Therefore, we see that and that. 1, 2. Hey Potato, it's been a while. Glad to see ya, buddy. Can't stay. Yep, you too, Nimble. Thanks for dropping by. So how many ticks does the repeater have at its longest time? 4. You have the 1 tick delay, the 2, 3, and 4 tick delay. And don't worry about it. I'm not gonna be streaming for long. I've been live for about half an hour now. Just, you know, having fun with redstone. My favorite combo. So there is, in this sense, so using the observer, by the way, the nice thing is that this will forcefully send a single tick into your system, no matter how long your input was. So the important thing to note about a system like this, however, is that depending on how long your input initially is, will determine the delay in which it sends the second pulse. So essentially what this does is it turns whatever you're using into a switch, right? Like you have, because when you flip a switch, Kotaro! Hey, you missed Monkey stream today? Big sad. Ah, that's unfortunate. I mean, hey, I'm sure there's a VOD, right? So to demonstrate what I'm talking about, we'll add the delay here so that it's easier to see. And then we'll actually add a pulse extender here too. Is this allowed? I think that's allowed. Because there's no redstone. Yeah, I think that's allowed. Because that shouldn't pulse back in. Alright, so now you see that? Lights up. And it lit up for as long as it did, by the way, because of the pulse extender here. So if we break this, you'll find that this lights up for a much shorter time. It just kind of flickers. So this kind of demonstrates two things. The pulse extender, so the comparator is basically comparing the strength and then outputting, right? But as it's doing that, it slowly winds down. So obviously you can get this to be a pretty strong like a pretty long pulse extender by doing it this way, having 4 instead of 2. So this will turn on for quite a long time, actually. Yeah. So as you can see, this acts as a nice little switch. So what we can do, grab one of these, throw the button down. So that's going to pulse on for quite a while, thanks to our pulse extender. Hit the button. Turns on. Turns off. And it doesn't pulse a second time. So what's happening here is thanks to the pulse extender. So if you break that again, you can see the lamp will actually pulse twice now. Blink, blink. And that's because this sends a 1-tick pulse into the power rails. So the power rails all turn on at the same time. That's how power rails work, by the way. When one power rail receives power, it will extend up to 8 away, I believe. 1, 4, 2, 3, yeah. So ultimately from the source or the initial point of power entry, 8 away from there, everything gets powered instantaneously. So once this rail here activates, causes this to send a 1-tick pulse into here, which gets extended. So this gets a delay, and it thus extended the signal. And then this gets powered instantaneously. The strength of it does lower as it continues down the line, but it does activate instantaneously for redstone. Can you make the lamp continuously blink instead of just twice? That would require a clock, which is not the hardest thing to make, actually. It's a similar concept to the pulse extender. And essentially what you want is take this signal again. So this will send a 1-tick pulse into the block. The block then has power and will transmit that in all directions. So we will take advantage of that. Let's see. The concept is the same here. So our from the initial input, we go back into the. Okay, so from the initial input, so now over here. This is our initial input. We need to go feed it back into the input. So like that. Right, well there's your clock. Blink, blink, blink. So if you're wondering what's happening here, it's very simple. The observer checks for this block here, where this rail is currently residing, and is looking for a block update. If this detects a block update, it sends a redstone signal into it. Alright, catch you later, potato. This observer will then cause a block update on itself to send a redstone signal outwards. Observers do not take a redstone signal into it. What this means is that you will find that even though this is powered, this is not, versus this where this is now powered. So as you can see, observers do not take power into it. So as a more clearer demonstration, you can see the difference here. Exact same setup, difference. I'm on peaceful, and the wandering traveler scared me. Oh my goodness. I'm literally on peaceful. I believe I can break this with this, right? If I pulse extend this? No. Okay. This is its whole own setup. So yeah, what I wanted to demonstrate here is that what's happening here is not that the observer, and by the way, this can be this observer setup can be anywhere. It doesn't have to be over here. It can be over here too. And once this thing turns on, it's pretty much permanently on. So yeah, it's a clock. It's a 4-tick clock. Very short, very fast clock. So what's happening is this observer gets updated because it sees that the rail gets updated. So it sends a pulse. But by it sending a redstone pulse, it means this thing updated itself. It has to, because it's doing something. So this observer sees that and does the same thing. It sees this block, this observer has updated. So this now does the same thing and updates and tries to send a redstone pulse, which it does. This observer here sees this observer say, "Hey, you updated. So I'm gonna update myself and send a redstone pulse." This guy sees this guy doing the same thing and sends a redstone pulse. But oh wait, now this redstone pulse hits the power rail and turns it back on. So this thing goes from, it ticks for one pulse only, on, off, and then the cycle repeats. It's a very fast clock. I mean, there are faster, obviously, because observers have a delay of 1 tick built in. This setup here is 4 ticks. You want a clock that lasts longer? You would need to have a separate design, or just make it bulkier. But if you're looking for a very compact design, one of the most compact design I know is the Etho clock, and this is named after Etho's lab. And the way this one works is very, very nice. Let's give ourselves a little bit more room. Actually, I think I have a clock over here somewhere. Yes, this is an Etho clock. So you might be wondering, what's happening here? Well, basically, the clock portion, if we break this, is the piston, hopper, comparator, redstone, and the redstone block. And the duration of this clock is based on how many items are in the hoppers. You can have a maximum of 5 stacks of items. And if you've seen Seth Bling's video, I know I'm just naming random redstone YouTubers at this point. Seth Bling actually does other things than redstone these days, but he used to be pretty big on the redstone stuff. Got into like coding and stuff, and did tons of command block things. So, yeah. But he did do one of these things where he asks other people to come up with a super long clock, given a very tight space, a 5x5 area. And so people came up with some pretty neat ideas. Obviously, one of them abuses item despawn rate. So if you don't know, Minecraft has a default item despawn of 5 minutes per items. So if you drop an item on the ground, after 5 minutes, it'll despawn. Yes, I love his videos. So you can see how the pressure plate activates. You can see it's currently active. And you take that. So someone basically used a dispenser or dropper. I think it was dispenser. Could have been dropper too. Might have been. Yeah, it doesn't really matter for this contraption. Basically, using an etho clock as the core component and taking a redstone pulse out of it every time it hit the maximum. Flips over, so essentially each output, because you only have one, right? The output being here. This is an output. And by the way, this is another way of having a longer timer. This is a very old way of doing a timer. This is a what is it? A piston tape? I believe is the name of this. Very old way of like basically having a controlled output. So if you're wondering how this works, these are half slabs. These are sandstone half slabs, which do not take in redstone, a redstone signal. So you can see right here, power isn't going through. But this block here, this plank, does. It's a full block. So once this cycles over here, that's when it'll output an output signal, and obviously you want to connect that to something. So this can be bigger. I used to use this as a way to keep track of cycles. This is back when I was messing around with clocks. I would use several piston tapes to serve as a memory unit, to remember certain things. And yeah, if you're wondering what this thing over here is, the piston that pushes the sand block up, this is a I forget the name, the technical term for this. What's happening is essentially the moment this repeater powers the block, it powers the redstone mine, but also powers the piston instantaneously. This happens all at once. So the power, there is a 1 tick pulse that goes into the system, and only ever a 1 tick pulse. And this only ever happens once. So with an input type of this, if we use an observer, for example, it would actually pulse twice, as we've noted over there. It would pulse twice instead of once. We want it to pulse once. This is the way to do it. If you want a single pulse, this is how you do a single pulse. It's a very nice little tool to have. Something very, very useful. Back to this though. So basically, instead of feeding this into that, what you can do is you can feed the output signal into a... do I have a dropper? Or just feed into a dispenser. And just throw a stack in there. Well, of course that's gonna happen. I gotta not be over here. Okay. You may watch the magic happen. So the clock strikes. Boom! Look at that. And obviously, this isn't like as fast as it's gonna happen, right? So there's gonna be a bit more to it, but basically this section or this part of the contraption over here actually ties in to this over here, there is a way to turn this thing off. Essentially, when the pressure plate activates, you send a signal back this way, and well, obviously I can't do it with my current my current way of doing this, but with an output on one side, with and you can kind of loop it around, and you basically relock both. You basically lock both. Hoppers. So to explain what's happening with and why we have a redstone block here, it's because the redstone block sends out redstone signals. Yes, with the redstone signals, when a hopper receives a redstone signal, it locks the hopper and stops it from spitting out items. It's why having two hoppers facing each other allows for one side to receive and one side to give out. They're both trying to give items away, but having a redstone block above it stops the hopper below the redstone block from giving items away. So that's how this works. So basically, you take an output from this, give it, and have it activate a dispenser, a dropper that drops an item to activate a pressure plate. The pressure plate will then route back to the hopper clock, which is also the etho clock, but it's known as a hopper clock as well. That's the other name for it. And lock it so that the hopper clock only starts activating again once the item despawns off of the pressure plate, which means you can have a maximum of 9 sets of dispenser. That's 9 stacks of items in the dispenser before you run out. And obviously, you want the pressure plate to tie into other things, yeah. And then once I forget, there's a whole thing to it, but basically this is one way to like give yourself a super duper long timer. People are very creative. Yes. So this is a very old design of mine where you hit the button here and yeah, this is a design I built for a mob farm. It's actually much longer than 5 minutes, and that's because the hopper clock, remember, it can stack up to 5 stacks of items, and the speed at which a hopper will push an item out of its internal inventory, or it does its thing, is I believe it's every 7 ticks. It's a very strange number. Or odd number, but that's how a hopper works. So 7 ticks by 5 stacks of items, and you technically need to multiply that by 2 times because you take an output from one side, so once it hits the other side, it needs to come back. So all items has to go through to one hopper and then back for the output signal to refresh. And you'll probably have a give or take 1 item in the hopper depending on your dropper setup here. Obviously, ideally with the dropper, it's about like near instantaneous when it drops items. You really don't want it to be like lacking or anything, yeah? So it's just instantaneous. I'll just drop the item, drop it right there, and you'll have it and wait for it to despawn. So it's so with 5 and 5, it's about 10 stacks of items at 7 ticks per item. And then over here, how long is 1 second in ticks? It's 20 ticks per second. That's how Minecraft is coded. That's how the game operates. So 5 minutes is 300 seconds. 300 seconds by ticks is 6,000 ticks. So it will be 6,000 ticks before the hoppers can move again. So basically you lock the hoppers for a whole 5 minutes. Going back to this is so this setup here is actually something I watch YouTube videos to learn. So what's happening here is you have an item, a miscellaneous item inside this dropper. So if the dropper here is facing the barrel is above a hopper, and the hopper is pointed into this dropper. So what happens is that when you click the button here, the redstone signal from the button goes into the dropper here, but also here. Technically, the button also goes, not too loud actually, but it technically also goes up here. So we throw like here, we can see we click the button, plop, item drops out. But the important thing to note is that there is a delay at which this happens. So obviously this dropper that the button's on will receive the signal instantaneously. However, the dropper down here and above here takes, I think, like a tick or so before it's just second in the sequence. Like there's a priority, so this is first priority down here, second priority. You'll notice that the item that was in here is now in here, and then we click this button, the item is back up here. So this is a neat little setup that basically acts as an on-off switch for your whole system, using only a button, which sounds like that over there, but again, it's using a button and not a switch. And I mean, technically this whole thing can get replaced with a switch. Like it doesn't need to be this fancy. You throw a switch next to the power rails here. Like you break this, you just throw down 2 more power rails, have a lever right there on the block. That's like, didn't mean to do that. Yeah. Rail, have a lever, does the exact same thing. It does exactly the same thing. So if you're wondering what's happening, do I even need to explain this? I think it's pretty obvious, yeah? So, hey, that kid Flanky22, hello, hello. So as you can see, when I hit the button, power stays on. Hit the button again, power stays off. And what's happening, I'll explain anyways, is that what's determining whether or not the power stays on or off is this comparator. So what's this whole contraption, right? Well, as I explained earlier, what the button's used for is to cycle the item. The important part is how the button interacts with the droppers here. The dropper down below is facing up and drops the items into the block above. And this happens second always. Always. And that's key. If it wasn't that order, this wouldn't work. So when this is off, it's because there's an item in this dropper. The comparator is basically looks into the block behind it and says, oh hey, there's an inventory here. Oh hey, there's an item in here. Let's send an output, because they see that. And the output signal is very weak, but power rails don't care. They do not care at all. There's power, they're activated. That's the beauty of power rails. And as we know, this is a whole elaborate setup using observers. Again, one of my favorite blocks. And this whole contraption, obviously mine is a lamp here because the lamp is just for show. It's just a way to say, hey, the lights are on. Hey, the lights are off. But aside from that, this is super lag friendly because only this thing, because if this is not here, right, only this thing has a light update. And the whole point of the observers, pistons, redstone, like the whole point you're using power rails with observers is to reduce the number of light updates. Obviously, using lamps, there's light updates there, right? But the point of the lamps is for the insides, for this contraption here, which is a spider spawner farm. But this kind of works everywhere, like everywhere. You like my avatar? Thank you very much. This is a design I actually built in modded Skyblock. I actually thought about using observers and all this in my modded world because of how nice it was. It was basically a one press button that I could do to turn my mob farm in my Skyblock world on or off, and that was super duper useful. Hey Mew! Thank you. Glad to see ya. So this is definitely one of my favorite things ever built. I just find it funny that the place where I built this was in a mod pack, and I only used vanilla blocks. I didn't use any like modded blocks to do this. What made it really easy, I guess, in modded survival to do this was the fact that I could make a lot of power rails for cheap, because you know, for a mod pack like Sky Factory or Skyblock modded, gold is really easy to come by because you're usually having some sort of infinite resource generation. So there was a whole thing I wanted to attach here, by the way, which is what this was supposed to be, where I wanted to do some truly old-timey, old-style redstone mob trap, which is the crusher. It's a shame that doesn't work anymore, and that's because of the way they changed how mobs work. Oh hey, here's the command block. Cool. Yes, this chain right here. Press the button, piston shoots it out, pulls it back in. So what you want here is more of a lever or some sort of instant single style update. Where is the button for this? There is no button. I've got the button. Yeah. And the button actually works everywhere, by the way. It doesn't matter where your button is, as long as the input is initially in this dropper up here. You got the button over here, you got the button over here, up above, it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm personally falling asleep at the moment. Ooh, bunnies. So, what was? Oh, yeah, this is my super smelter thingamabobber. This was a lot of fun to build. Gonna be building more of these super smelters. I love super smelters. They're great, absolutely wonderful. And I'll have another Minecraft stream later in the day. It's 3 AM for me. So maybe 1 PM-ish? Depends, right? But around then is when I'm gonna shoot them again. More Minecraft! I don't know why I have the tag survival on my Twitch stream. That's wrong. Oh, I can't even take that off because I'm playing Minecraft. I see. That's okay. We'll be tinkering more with some redstone stuff. I definitely relearn redstone. Probably best to, I don't know, watch more redstone tutorials. There's so many people that's way smarter than me. So, gotta relearn off of those people. But thanks for joining me today, everyone. It's very random. But that's me in a nutshell. More streams to come after Thursday. Why after Thursday? Because that's my final exam. After that, I'm free to stream and do all my other things. Have a good night, everyone. Catch you later in like 12 hours. Thanks for following, Flanky. Bye-bye.